David Seymour.
Mr Speaker, once again a contribution from Tracy Martin that's a bit like one of those multi-directional lawn watering machines. In every single direction, very little coherency. First she was belittling men for even being involved in the debates. Then she was welcoming me to fatherhood. You never quite know what you're going to get from moment to moment. Mr Speaker, I oppose the bill, but I do want to pay tribute to Sue Moroney, who came to see me earlier this year and made the case for good public policy, and I agreed with her and I did what I could to advance that, bearing in mind that at that point she'd run out of options due to an impending veto by the Finance Minister. And so we return to the topic tonight with some mutual respect and understanding, I hope. But the fact is that in contrast to those initiatives that made paid parental leave proportional to need and proportional in particular to unexpected need, this bill simply does not stack up. The rhetoric behind it is that, first of all, paid parental leave derives great benefits, number one. And number two, that state assistance is necessary in order that those benefits be derived. But you only have to ask yourself two questions. How many babies are born in New Zealand each year, and how many parents take up paid parental leave? And the numbers are 60,000 and 26,000. More than half of babies born in New Zealand are not brought up under paid parental leave. And then you have to ask yourself about the World Health Organisation and breastfeeding. Mr Speaker, my mum happens to be a La Leche League consultant. I'm pretty well versed in the benefits of breastfeeding, but nevertheless many women, either by choice or by necessity, do not breastfeed their children. And so as soon as you start to understand that the benefits of this bill can be derived without the need for state assistance, or sometimes not at all, the case for it becomes so much less urgent. Then you have to consider the fact that the state assistance, even if it were to be extended to 6 months, is not addressing the overall challenge that people face in parenthood. Parenthood today is an 18-plus year proposition. As many parents will tell you, it can go well into the 20s. And the idea that you're going to make a substantial difference simply by adding a few more weeks to paid parental leave does not stack up. On the other hand, you might make the case that there's a certain amount of political cynicism or even opportunism behind this bill. And you only have to look at the way that, and the Labor members have caught themselves out here, they didn't mean it to come out, but it came out, when they said that they would introduce such a bill when it was fiscally sustainable. Jacinda Ardern's just entered the chamber and she was standing up saying, we introduced paid parental leave back in 2002 and we extended it in 2004, an election year and a year when Labor took a major hit in the polls. And we did that because it was fiscally sustainable, because we were running huge surpluses. Sue Moroney then introduced a bill in 2012 when the government was $9 billion a year in the hole. So the idea that there is some sort of fiscal probity or caution around the introduction of this policy simply does not stand up to scrutiny. They use the fiscal caution argument when it suits, and then they ignore it just as well when it suits. So, Mr Speaker, I'd finish on the challenge that has been made, and the audacious challenge apparently, that people should have children when they can afford it. And we get the faux outrage as though that is the most extraordinary and audacious thing that a person could ever possibly utter in this House or anywhere. Well, Mr Speaker, I just want to remind the House and put on record that if you go out and talk to New Zealanders, that is not only what most New Zealanders believe, that you should have children as you can afford to do so. That is what the overwhelming majority of New Zealanders do. And with that, Mr Speaker, I'd like to conclude my remarks and my opposition to this bill. Thank you, Mr Speaker.